Thank you very much, Peter, for this exciting introduction. I would also today maybe present myself as the pre-course and not the dessert. So hope I can live up to the high expectations of the moderator. But first, let me introduce myself, if it's coming. Yes, I am here today to present a new tool, a new system that we are working with, which is called a crowdsourcing platform, and it's developed as part of the e-mobility EDSR project, where the organization that I represent, FDT, the Association of Danish Transport and Logistics Centers, has, together with partners from around the North Sea region, been involved in developing this forum for solutions. It's a sort of open innovation platform where we challenge experts to come with their solutions to tasks that we will, together with the partnership, produce. But in order also for you to know a little about why we have looked at this clean urban freight logistics solutions and created the platform, first I would like to, of course, introduce the organization that I represent. We have been in the game for 22 years. We are a non-profit, similar organization, approved by the Danish Ministry, and we encompass 7 transport and logistics centers, the largest in Denmark, and we work with added value logistics services, among others, how we introduce commercial EVs in the market. We are located in Aalborg, which is up here, but still a lot of things are happening in Copenhagen, so parts of the things that I present today are in Copenhagen, but as we also see, it's very, very important to have widespread focus on the activities. So the background. When we are developing these solutions for electric vehicles, for us, it's important not only to focus on the private transportation, but also have the commercial, the freight EVs included in this. That when it comes to policies, charging infrastructure, all the tools that you can imagine, but also tests and pilots for this. People tend to have a focus and forget about the freight, but actually when it comes to emissions, if you look at local emissions in the city of Copenhagen, 40% would come, or at least the cost of pollution would come from the freight transport industry. So this is a very important area, which I'll also look into and show in my upcoming slides. Representing the transport centers, we of course see the business idea here, that the goods are consolidated at the transport centers outside the cities. They are then transshipped onto electric vehicles and are transported to the inner cities in a clean and silent way. And hereby, of course, we obtain a lot of benefits, but there are still some precautions which need to be made. It's not just something that is done overnight. And why do we have this focus? If we look at the recent EU transport policy papers, we know, as is written in the Right paper, that we need to cut the greenhouse gas emissions by up to 60% from the reduction target, I think it's 1990. And this will do by halving the use of conventionally fueled cars in urban transport. They should actually be phased out by 2050. But for us, it's very important also to focus on the last goal here, that we should achieve essentially CO2-free cities by 2030. This is in 17 years from now. And when we look at it, how it is these days, there are still many things to obtain and many interesting things to achieve. So when we have this, these are the goals. Today we focus at electric solutions. But I would like to challenge you with the first question here it goes on how we see that to build the future. Should we focus on the combination, or should we, as today, focus on pure electricity? And I'm actually very glad to see the results there, because as it is this far, no one say that we should mainly go. And I totally agree that it is a combination of different fuels for long haulage transportation. Yes, gas, hydrogen, fuel cells will be a better solution. For the last mile, electricity might be one of the best options indeed, but still it's the combination also. So I'm glad that the audience also agree with what we hope that you would answer, but on the other hand, of course, the focus of today is electricity. Super. So that leads me to my next slide, where we can see here that the concept of using electric vehicles for urban transportation. Here we say that in the transport logistics centers, normally located outside the city centers, but also you can have urban consolidation centers. Here the goods come in via long-haulage transport, road, rail, sea shipping, inland waterways, are then brought to the centers where the transshipment onto an electric vehicle is made. And instead of making the last mile delivery with a polluting vehicle, you can do it silent, you can do it clean, and this is where the benefits come in. One of the things is that you can also combine this with night distribution, so that you extend the delivery windows for electric vehicles. Many European cities, of course, impose regulations on how often you can drive in there, or when you can drive into the city centers. But with electric vehicles and, of course, low noise equipment, you'll be able to do this also during night. Finally, we can see that the charging spots of the companies performing the distribution should, of course, also be involved in the setup of this. We have been in contact with many different transport operators, logistic providers, and they say that they actually prefer to have their own. So we've focused these last couple of days on public charging spots and infrastructure, but when it comes to transport and logistics, big companies like TNT, DB Schenker, DHL, UPS would actually like to have their own, so that they know that they are always available, and then you can have them at strategically located spots. Of course, there are the benefits of no noise and CO2 emission. We still are a little bit behind when it comes to competing with the internal combustion engine vehicles when it comes to payload, but Smith Electric, the UK OEM, provides actually trucks with a payload up to 8-10 tons. So in this respect, it's the competition is the competitors are getting closer to each other. And as I will show in this small video, which should hopefully start, here we go from one of our transport centers outside Copenhagen. We travel 25 kilometers to the city center of Copenhagen. We unwrap and distribute some of the packages at different locations. Meanwhile, we can even charge. Let's say that we have a big supermarket. We know that we'll be there for 20 minutes. We supercharge or fast charge. And then, after having distributed all of our things, we return the truck. We come back to the transport center. We put on the goods again. And at the end, we have transported and distributed in a low-emission way, where we have driven less than 50 kilometers, no problem from any electric vehicle. We have 0 grams of CO2 emissions, almost no noise, almost no smell, and we could do it even during night, so people, when they wake up, didn't even notice that there had been any distribution. Hereby, we're also less congestion. I make it seem simple here. I know it's much more difficult, but that is the reason why. Finally, of course, my final conclusion of this, we have made the step towards the EU's emission goals for major urban areas, which were 0 in 17 years. And of course, it's not as easy as I said, or made it seem like. Therefore, we have produced this report, also under the e-mobility program, where we have taken 58 cases on distribution with electrified delivery vans, among others here from the Netherlands. I can see the audience is primarily from the Netherlands today, but I'm glad that we also have an international audience. We have 13 different cases, primarily from Amsterdam, described here, on the challenges, opportunities, and threats. We have looked into, there's a very interesting annex also about the availability of different vans. 36 are described in there. We have looked at ICT solutions together with our partners. We have looked at different policies. It's quite heavy, as you can see. So we have only been able to carry around 10. I have them and I'll place them on the desk outside, but I'll also put a list next to them so that we can send it either electronically or a paper version to you also via the partners. So please sign your email address. I'll give you your business card afterwards. Then I'll ensure that you have it at your disposal. So back to where I started, we have, for the CUFLOS, created this, what we call the crowdsourcing platform. And it's located on the e-mobility project homepage. Here you can create your own user login and then give your answer as an expert or person with an interest in the area on different challenges which will be posted once a month. There will be a small prize to improve interest in this. Also, yesterday we discussed whether it would be a small poet. We do have some poets among us. I know that one is sitting here. He won't accept that. But anyway, there will be a prize, and that will be handed out in London. So that could be a T-shirt saying something, I won the e-mobility challenge. And then we go to the next. I've been so lucky that I also have the chance to use this interactive platform. We have worked a little bit with Better Place. And in Denmark, one of the countries, together with Israel, Australia, and the Netherlands. This charging network has been deployed. So now we have 18 stations in Denmark. So my question is, do you see a use for battery swap stations as part of the EV charging network in Europe still? Because it's there, it is deployed, it is working somehow, but obviously the business concept of Better Place was not working. We have looked into this, and I can see that the majority, still around 66%, a little less now, still think that this is a feasible solution. I know my colleague will be very glad to see this also. But in this respect, we also saw when we developed the concept together with Better Place, not from the beginning, but we would like to see the concept develop further to encompass trucks also. Imagine if that you could have switched the battery in like 4 minutes, then you could do distribution services like 24/7 because they're silent and clean. But great. I think everyone has provided the answer now. So the objective with CUFLOS, this Clean Urban Freight Logistic Forum, is that we stimulate dialogue. We want to achieve expert inputs, common people inputs, private users, commercial users on these challenges. I'll show you the two that we have come up with so far in a minute. But also to create not only local findings, but to create true transnational findings. With this report, we have looked into all 7 North Sea region countries. And that's the same we want to achieve also with the CUFLOS. That's even open to the US also, so if there are any good inputs from there, they are more than welcome, definitely, to contribute also to this. Especially because we look and see that harmonization of standards are so important. Charging standards, it could be how to give regulations, things like cross borders, how is that possible with electric vehicles, etc. There are many, many things which are best coordinated when you go international. So I challenge you. I know that we have had a few problems with the Wi-Fi today, but it should be up running now. And here are the first 2 challenges that we have looked into and published. So the first one would be, if we look at the current technical status of the electric vehicles. When we talk to the original equipment manufacturers, they say, we are very willing to participate in tests and all of this, but please inform all the audience and the transport companies that when we use our vehicles, they are actually of a standard that are market ready. We should go to the next phase where we actually develop, and I'm very glad that this comment was posed earlier on today also, that with these indirect measures, so that we optimize the solutions. Instead of paying people for using it, just focus instead on providing them some advantages of using it. It could be extended delivery windows, it could be that you have free parking space, it could be cheaper energy. Hereby you don't impose stricter regulations on other, but you provide successful and useful measures for the one that actually uses EVs or other clean technologies. And this is also what we see in the goods transportation sector. And here, with the benefits that we could achieve, I think it's actually very, very important to focus that we have some low-hanging fruits that could be obtained in the freight logistics industry. So our question here, where we could see that people could provide some inputs, is that are we competing on the general market, or should we compete on smaller particular markets, niche market, where the EV has its benefits more? Of course, we have seen, talking to urban freight delivery companies, that for city distribution, yes, there are advantages, but are we missing out some things? We have here had a primary focus on goods transportation, but it could also, the CUFLOS platform, encompass challenges on private transportation. Second one, also the legislative actions. They are very important still to introduce the technology, to introduce more vehicles. But how do we look at them? And then we see that the condition for the legislative actions should be objective, meaning that they doesn't violate competition, that we don't impose stricter regulations on the users. Two interesting challenges. I hope that we will see some answers when I come back to Denmark tomorrow, and then I will definitely initiate a dialogue with those of you who are interested in it. I have here the e-mobility, hopefully, homepage. We have the bottom here, e-mobility forum. Of course, I should commercialize this and promote it, but the homepage in itself is very, very interesting. It's here you can find all the findings of the project, and among others, there's this report, but also from the other 6 work packages, from where we have seen a lot of interesting presentations today. I'm looking very much forward to a good lunch. I hope you like the pre-course, so thank you very much, and if there's any questions, feel free.
Thank you, Michael.